the show, everybody. Every Wednesday at this time, we get a chance to talk to the great Mike Lupica, New York Daily News. You can read him, MLB.com, and also he is an esteemed best-selling author. And he joins us now. Hi, Mike.
How are you, Michael?
I'm doing great. I just got a little fired up about the Pete Rose situation. And my point was this. The Baseball Writers Association should always have been allowed to vote for him, and I believe they would have kept him out. And Major League Baseball kind of made a stink about it, and they took him and put him on the ineligible list. And now he's taken off the ineligible list for reasons I don't know. He doesn't belong in the Hall of Fame, Mike. He just doesn't.
Michael, it's been fascinating watching the reaction to this in the media, online, and all over the place. I was just saying to Ray, your producer, I wasn't aware that in death, Pete had become such a holy man that if and when he does get into the Hall of Fame, there will be white smoke coming out of every chimney in Cooperstown, New York. He did what Bart Giamatti said he did. He did it, and then he lied about it for years and years and years. And Michael, you know my position on the Hall of Fame. Maybe someday there will be what I call the dirtball wing of the Hall of Fame. And they can let in the drug cheats, and they can let in Pete Rose, and on the plaque they can talk about all the things they did on the field and all the things they did to get them not elected to the Hall of Fame. But until they do, and I'm not one of these people who thinks that this is church. I am not one of those people who think that I'm a caretaker or a guardian for the integrity of the sport. But Pete did what they said he did. And Michael, I've always loved the idea that we're supposed to take it on faith that when he was betting on baseball, he only bet on his team to win. Well, first of all, if you're only betting on your team to win, let's be logical. And you don't bet that day, what are you telling the other gamblers? That you don't.
And it's not like he had a FanDuel account. He's betting with underground people. So if he doesn't bet on the Reds one game, that's telling them, he doesn't think the Reds are going to win.
And this notion now that it's some sort of outrage that he won't even go to the historical era committee, who will either just decide to put him on the ballot or not. I mean, where's Pete going? It's not like he can still be impatient about this process. He's dead, and I think, and so what? Should the writers have been allowed to vote on it? Yes, but this, once he went on the ineligible list, this now the process now falls back to the Baseball Hall of Fame and Jane Clark, and she is not going to change their rules for Pete Rose. Mike, he was one of the greatest ball players of all time. This idea, by the way, that writers would have kept him out because they hated him, Mike, you were a baseball writer. People loved Pete Rose.
Yep.
There was no, Mike, right? There was no better pregame dugout interview in the sport in his time than Pete Rose. Everybody liked Pete. Even after he got banged from baseball, I went down one time. I was working on an Esquire piece about Reggie Jackson and went down to that restaurant of his. I think it was down in Boca Raton.
Yep.
And Pete, you know this, he was always great company. But the crimes he committed to go on the ineligible list, he is guilty of those crimes. He has not become less guilty because he's dead. And I put this up on Twitter yesterday. When he was on his way out of baseball because of Bart Giamatti, I got a letter one day at the Daily News from the great George Carlin. And he said at the end, you want to punish Pete? Take some of his hits away. That'll piss him off. And it was a wonderful line. But when you hear now how much Pete loved baseball, well, if he loved it as much as he says he did, why did he break his cardinal rule about gambling? Once you get away from people thinking that what they're watching might not be legit, then now you've moved over to professional wrestling. And Mike, guess who else loved baseball? Bart Giamatti. And he thought he was doing the right thing. And that whole experience for him, as stressful as it was, it probably shortened his life.
Right. Gave him a heart attack. What was it, 8 days after he ruled?
Whatever it was.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you met him. I met him. he loved baseball as much as any non-player I have ever met. And he felt that he was protecting the integrity of the game. And do I think Pete's going to get in one of these days? Yeah, I think he's going to get in one of these days. I don't know if I'll be around to see it, and I don't know if I'll be around to see Bonds and Clemens and A-Rod and those guys go in. But right now, nothing has changed about the circumstances of his case.
Here's the thing that bothers me, and I wonder if it gets you as well. People in our own business make this argument all the time. Well, it's a museum. He has to be in. We're telling the story of baseball. That doesn't mean you get a plaque. He is in the Hall of Fame. I've been there. His cap, his baseball, the fact that he leads the major leagues in hits. All of that's in there. Doesn't mean you get a plaque. That's such a terrible narrative and a lazy narrative. Well, he has to be in there if you tell a story of baseball. Okay, so does Wayne Tolleson. Does he get a plaque?
Mike, I couldn't agree more. This idea that people are being puritanical by thinking he doesn't belong in means that they don't care about the circumstances of his case. He did it. And not only did he do it, he lied about it. And can I tell you that I think he didn't do it when he was a player? No, I cannot tell you that because Pete lied. And the bottom line on Pete Rose, and again, he got more hits than anybody in history. He was as much fun to watch as any non-home run hitter who ever played the game. And all of that will be true. But what he did defied everything that he says it was supposed to be sacred about the game that he loved and clearly did love as much as he said he did. He was not a victim, Mike. He wasn't a victim then. He wasn't a victim when he got banged from baseball. He isn't a victim because he died last year. He isn't a victim now that he has been taken off the ineligible list. And I mean, my God, Shoeless Joe Jackson, if you look at the whole big picture, might be more of a victim than Pete was.
And I also love the way it came out. Well, they had lifetime bans. Well, they're no longer Poor Shoeless Joe is probably doesn't even exist. He's dust right now. Why did it take so long for him? If that was the rule,
I think it's an extremely popular thing to make Pete now eligible because then you know what happens now? After he was the bad guy for gambling on baseball, now the bad guys are the people who will be keeping him out, except they're not.
Yeah.
Except, Mike, you've walked into even more baseball clubhouses than I have, and I've walked into a lot of them, and you know what that sign says about gambling.
And it's right there for everyone to see, and he saw it every day of his life. Every day. But he did that with the hubris that he lived his life and played the game. That's what made him a great player, but he didn't think rules applied to him. And he had an arrogance about him and a hubris, and he gambled despite knowing that it was illegal. Sorry, he doesn't belong in the Hall of Fame.
And Michael, when you look at this now, okay, when you take a step back and know everything that we know now, okay, this idea that the place will somehow be diminished because he's not in it, and the argument that I really hate is, well, look at all the other bad guys that are there. Yeah, there are a lot of other bad guys in there. And there's a lot of bad guys who got in when people knew they were bad guys. Ty Cobb was a bad guy. Ty Cobb would wait for you in the parking lot. Ty Cobb would sharpen his spikes and try to hurt you. But just because they got in doesn't mean that you then open the door wide, like it's the Statue of Liberty. Send us your drug cheats, send us your gamblers, send everybody in as long as they could play the game.
All right, final thing before I let you go. Do you think the Celtics are absolutely dead, or do they have a chance?
I can't see them coming back and winning this series, but Michael, as a New Yorker, I'm worried about tonight's game. I think Jaylen Brown is due. I think Derek White, who is a great two-way player, has been rolled by Jalen Brunson pretty much at both ends of the court in this series, and I can see them rising up and winning this game, and then you know how it gets late in the series. All of a sudden, then the Knicks have to win Game 6. They have to win that or have to win Game 7. My mind tells me that this series is over, but I've got a gut reaction that we may see the Celtics kind of show that old cliche, some Celtic pride tonight, and at least push this series to one more game.
Great stuff, Mike. As always, we'll talk to you soon.
Okay, Michael.
Thank you so much. That is Mike Lupica. Great stuff from him.